So last week we discussed the Battle of Naboo, and one of the major factions in that battle was the Trade Federation. So I figure today we'll take a look at the forces of the Trade Federation, how they were organized, how they were utilized, and how they contributed to the forces of the Separatist cause at the outbreak of the Clone Wars. I'm Colin, and this is Sci-Fi Deep Dive. Remember, if you enjoyed this video, to head down below and hit that subscribe button. So the Trade Federation gained significant notoriety when they invaded the planet of Naboo during the Naboo Crisis 10 years before the outbreak of the Clone Wars. And they did that using their own military forces. And then there's this whole complex backstory about how the Trade Federation, a private trade company, was able to basically build an army. Long story short, the cover story for this army's existence was that they were for self-defense against boarders and pirates. But how they utilized and deployed this army is very interesting, and as we know, it had some flaws. So today let's look at how this army is organized, the equipment it used, and what happened to it after the Battle of Naboo. So let's start with the standard infantry unit of the Trade Federation military. At the time of the Battle of Naboo, the Trade Federation was using primarily OOM series battle droids. It's important to note that these are different from the B-1 battle droids utilized by the Separatists during the Clone Wars. The OOM series was dependent on a centralized computer system. The OOMs were not nearly as independent in almost every way. That being said, OOM series battle droids were relatively cheap to produce and could compact down to a smaller size for storage, allowing vast numbers of troops to be transported on a single vessel. And these battle droids filled nearly every role within the Trade Federation military, from their standard infantry to security, communications, pilots, command structures. These droids filled nearly every role. But obviously these infantry need to be supported by larger vehicles. So supporting the massive number of OOM series battle droids deployed by the Trade Federation, they also utilized a large number of AAT tanks. These tanks, hovering on repulsor lifts, could go over small obstacles and easily navigate the tight streets of Theed. But on top of that, there are other combat vehicles utilized as well, like the STAP speeders, or STAPs. These lightweight, fast patrol speeders were perfect for sort of scouting missions and trying to locate potential hostiles for larger forces to engage. We see these utilized to sort of sweep the forests during the initial invasion, and they were likely used to scout out the Gungan army forming in the swamps before the Battle of Naboo itself. And to transport the vast number of infantry units utilized in the invasion, the Trade Federation utilized multi-troop transports, or MTTs. These repulsor lift vehicles were sort of similar in design to the AATs, but dedicated almost entirely to carrying vast numbers of OOM series battle droids. We see these heavily armored transports utilized to deploy troops directly onto the battlefield during the battle outside the swamp, and we see them used to carry vast number of troops into Theed during the opening invasion. And to support this ground invasion is a very versatile fighter craft, the Variable Geometry Self-Propelled Battle Droid Mark I, more commonly known as the Vulture Droid, or Droid Starfighter. These fighters would become a staple of the Separatists later on, but basically made up the entire fighter force utilized by the Trade Federation during the invasion. And to facilitate the blockade and invasion were a fleet of Lucrehulk-class battleships. These are converted cargo freighters designed to carry troops and weapons as opposed to raw cargo that the Trade Federation would normally be transporting. So how exactly was this force managed? Well, as many of us know, it was all commanded from a single computer. Like I mentioned, the OOM series battle droids need a central computer to issue commands to them individually, so without that central computer they really can't manage at all. And that computer is located aboard a droid control ship in orbit over Naboo. The entire command and control system within the Trade Federation's military sort of stems from this direct link between the droid control ship and the battle droids on the ground. Without the droid control ship, as we see, the droid forces cease to function. Other than that, command structure seems to mimic nearly every other military, with commanders of various ranks, and all of them reporting to Trade Federation leadership. In this particular situation, it was Viceroy Newt Gunray. So what exactly happened to this military after the invasion of Naboo, and how did it contribute to the Separatist cause 10 years later? Well, for starters, the Battle of Naboo exposed a major weakness within the OOM series battle droids. Future generations of battle droids, while they would still rely on a central computer system for a lot of their needs, could function autonomously if they were cut off from that central computer system. Outside of infantry, a lot of other units within the Trade Federation's military ended up falling under the jurisdiction of the Confederacy of Independent Systems during the war. These are mostly the heavier vehicles, things like the AATs, the MTTs, and the Vulture droids, all of which make prominent appearances during the Clone Wars, serving the Separatists. So the Separatists clearly relied a lot on the support of the Trade Federation and on the Trade Federation's military contributions to sort of carry out their war effort. If you'd like to learn about some of the other companies that contributed to the war effort, I'll leave a link up here to my video on the Separatist Council. And I want you to let me know down in the comments what you think of the Trade Federation having such a large military. Do you think it should have been a red flag even before the invasion of Naboo, or does it kind of make sense from a private defense standpoint? And if you have anything you'd like to see me cover in Star Wars, leave it down below in the comments. Last but not least, if you enjoyed this video, head down below, hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the bell icon so you get notified when I upload new videos. So for Sci-Fi Deep Dive, I'm Colin, and I will see you next time.